Our first speaker in the session is Dr. Vishwapati Trivedi, who has had an illustrated professional career. He is a 1977 batch of IS. He has been Secretary of Government of India for the last 2 years, first as a Union Mine Secretary and now as a Chairman, Inland Waterways Authority of India. Prior to this, he was a Special Secretary in the Union Home Ministry, and before that, Chairman and Managing Director of Indian Airlines. He has a really very illustrious career with him. Now, may I request Mr. Trivedi to say a few words? Yeah.
Mr. Kalol Datta, Captain Majumdar, Mr. Kalon, Mr. Roy, distinguished delegates for the Waterways Conference today, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great opportunity in a very opportune place to talk about waterways. So I hope you will bear with me when I reel out some facts, because the subject on which I am supposed to talk has two dimensions. One is the factuals and what do we do exactly as a Waterways Authority of India. And then what is the other part is, of course, what is our policy and what is our vision. As Mr. Kalol Datta said, that we would like to know, being a very important part of this eastern grid of the country. Waterways do have a huge economic influence on the life and styles of people in this area. For those who don't know, the Inland Waterways Authority of India is an autonomous statutory body under the Ministry of Shipping. It was created by an Act of the Parliament in 1986. As Mr. Datta said, the waterway business in India has been going on, I believe, since ages, even in the times of Ashoka the Great, and then during the Mughal times and during the British times, and now, of course, we have officially been able to construct an authority in 1986 and declare over the past, since then, declare 5 national waterways. The 6th one is under the process of declaration. I think in the next monsoon session of the Parliament, it will be declared as the 6th national waterway. It doesn't mean that these are the only waterways in the country. There are plenty of other waterways. In fact, the total length of the waterways is somewhere around 15,000 kilometers in this country. But 1/3 of these is more or less declared as the national waterways. Just to again factually apprise you of what we mean by national waterways, allow me a half a minute. Because this being such an important session, I think everybody should be on board with, as far as the facts are concerned. And understanding is a must before we move forward on doing business with you. The waterways, as they are declared, they are numbered. It's nothing that number 1 is big or number 2 is small. It's not a ranking. It's a chronological order. So National Waterway 1 is Ganges, Ganga, all the way from Allahabad to Haldia. And this is about 1,600 kilometers. So you might ask, what is beyond upstream of Allahabad? Upstream of Allahabad is not a national waterway. It's a waterway. I mean, it's a river, but it's not. Similarly, you have the Brahmaputra declared as the National Waterway 2, which is from Dhubri to Sadia. And then we have National Waterway 3, which is in the Kerala coast from Kollam to Kottapuram, and that's about 500 kilometers approximately. And it's not that this is the only waterway in Kerala. There is south of Kollam, there is more waterways, and north of Kottapuram there are some more waterways. But this is the portion which has been declared as the national waterway. 4 is from Puducherry to Kakinada. That's the national waterway. It's the old British waterway called the Buckingham Canal. And the 5th is a system of Krishna and Godavari basins in Orissa. Brahmani River, including Paradip Port, Dhamra Port, and the river systems of Brahmani. That is National Waterway 5. National Waterway 6, which is under declaration, is the Barak river system, which is on the Assam side. Now, you can say what this waterway means. Now, typically, as you have the National Highway Authority of India, similarly you have the Indian Waterway Authority of Inland Waterway Authority of India. These national waterways are like the national highways, which means that the authority can take all necessary investment decisions pertaining to those national waterways. For example, Goa waterway, there's a lot of business in Goa, and there's a big waterway of Mandovi and the other river. But that's not a national waterway. So if the Goa government asks me that, Mr. Trivedi, please come and put some money in the dredging and all that, I cannot do it, because it's like a state highway. It's not like a national waterway. Similarly, there are some very active waterways in Gujarat and Mumbai and Maharashtra, but they are being managed at the state level, at the provincial level. That said, we now, what do we do as a National Waterway Authority? Well, we keep these waterways navigable to the extent possible. Of course, they are all very alluvial, so we need a lot of maintenance dredging, a lot of bandaling, and a lot of other activity keeps going on. All this money comes to us straight from the government. It's a grant that the government gives to the authority. So it's not that I'm in the business of like Mr. Kelhon, who looks at the balance sheet and there is a profit and loss account. I don't have those hassles. Of course, I have my auditors. I can't just go and spend money because it is government money. But all that said, we are operated under an authority of which I am the chairman, and there are other members, and we take our investment decisions there. The bigger investment decisions, of course, go to the cabinet and other higher deciding authorities. We do a lot of, in our charter, you might ask, why don't you run barges? Now, I'll come to that a little later, but let me first say what we do currently. What we currently do is to look after these waterways, and I can say that it's not that we can look after them in a 100% manner, because these waterways have been declared waterways, but they are pretty much silted. Some of them, some are very active, like the one in National Waterway 1 in Calcutta is very active, so it's not a huge, these are not problem areas for us. But certain areas beyond, let's say, above Patna, from Varanasi to Allahabad, it's a waterway. There is water, but there is no depth. And we keep doing some maintenance dredging, but that's not enough. So we have to go into slightly bigger programs of putting barrages to hold water levels. Now, putting a barrage is not a kid's job. I mean, it takes money. Even if you get the money, it has its own problems of land acquisition, provincial government handling. When you hold water, it spreads in the back. So there are submerged areas. People react. So you have to deal with the local villagers and residents. So all that it's not an easy thing to just make a barrage. But yet, if you want to do the waterway, it is essential to do all that. We have plans and we have mega plans. Let me tell you that it's very interesting to note that this is the first time ever in the history of the waterways that the finance minister, Union finance minister, in his budget speech has included a full para on how waterways will be developed. It was a great pleasure to see that there, because in my previous assignment as Special Secretary of Home Affairs, I worked with Mr. Chidambaram, and it's not an easy job to convince him to include these paras in his finance minister's speech. And if he includes it, Mr. Chidambaram is a person who means it then. So in my discussion with him, I think he has given me a kind of a blank check on that you give me the demand for the development of the waterways and I'll give you the money. Now, it is strictly upon our capacity. And when we say our, I mean, I solicit your support in all these things. It's not that the Waterways Authority can do too many things unless it is supported by others in the private sector also. I'll come to what we are trying to do there. But having said that, what I'm trying to say is that, and mind you, our projects, there are about 8 or 9 projects for transportation over national waterways, goods and cargo. They are monitored by the Prime Minister's office almost every 2 months. It's very rare. I've not seen these kinds of support being given to a particular sector. I don't think even the atomic energy sector is monitored every 2 months by the Prime Minister's office. And that gives me a lot of strength, and that gives me a lot of support. You have the financial support, you have the administrative support. What more do you need? Now, I'll come to what I need. We have very actively tried over the last few years to increase the cargo on waterways. It's of the total cargo carried, it's a very minuscule percentage that moves over waterways. It's about 2% or some such thing. So looking at that, and looking at the kind of waterways that we have in our country, it's really pathetic that we are not able to use the waterways when it is almost 1/5 of the price of a road per ton per kilometer cost. Why has it happened? Over the years, I believe, last 25 years, there's been a lot of emphasis on road and rail. People have been gung-ho, the budgets have been funding roads and rails. People think that making a road is making them a better village or a better town. So consequently, the emphasis on the waterways has actually diminished. Once that kept happening, but now the time has come to reverse the cycle, because the cost of fuel has gone up, congestion has gone up, there are a whole lot of bottlenecks in railway and road transportation. So obviously the choice is now, it's not that voluntary, it's almost involuntary that you have to switch if you want to reduce your cost. A typical example is what Mr. Datta had referred to is the Farakka NTPC project. It's a very typical example where the entire transportation of imported coal which comes from Indonesia, Mr. Rajesh is here, Captain Rajesh is here, he is going to be doing the transshipment. But if all goes well, which I am sure will, it's a straight saving of 20% cost, which has been estimated, and that's why NTPC has awarded this contract to the Jindal ITF. Now Jindal ITF is investing something like 700 crore rupees almost into the building of the infrastructure, the building of the barges, and I think we are very close to launching that project in about a month and a half. So what I'm trying to say is that it's not that you do it only for the sake of environment, or you do it for the sake of anything else. But you do it for the sake of your profit and loss account actually nowadays. And now NTPC, having been enthused by this transportation project, has also awarded, now the tender is is out in the market. We have tendered for a similar arrangement with Bar, which is a town near Patna on National Waterway 1, where again some shipper will back the contract and do it, and that's about 1,000 crore project. So these are the things which the authority is catalyzing in the and doing their best in the to support the industrial growth. The third point in the overall structure is that we are standing in an area which has the highest potential for waterway in the country. That's my personal assessment. There is a lot of potential in the Kerala waterway, but it's a small waterway. Of course, it's a small, concentrated, just like the state of Kerala. It's a dense waterway. But the waterway that we stand on here, the National Waterway 1, as I said, it's about 1,600 kilometers waterway. Then you have, from Haldia, you have the access to the Bangladesh. We have somebody from Bangladesh authority, and we have come to, both of us have come to, both the countries have come to an agreement and declared the waterway as the protocol route. That protocol route is a very active protocol route even today, because a whole lot of Bangladesh vessels come, they fill up fly ash, they go to Bangladesh, and now I'm extremely happy to note that just yesterday, day before yesterday, the first consignment of food grain from Haldia onwards to Ashuganj across Bangladesh through the protocol route has been permitted by the Bangladesh authorities. So that is going to be a big game changer, as they say, because a whole lot of food grain that used to go over the top of Bangladesh and causing congestion and causing losses and very expensive will now be moving through the Bangladesh protocol route. And I think it's a great win-win situation for both the countries, because the food grain gets delivered to Tripura and Manipur, where of course the PDS is a very important social scheme, but at a slightly lower cost. But the vessels, the crew, the trucks, they are all Bangladesh based. So basically, those guys will pay their income tax in Dhaka, and that's the gain to. It's a win-win situation. So the entire the Bangladesh vessels will be used, crew will be used. The trucks from Ashuganj to Akhora, which is the Silchar border, which is the Manipur border, Tripura border, will be all done by the Bangladesh operators. So this it's a very and I think we have been pleading with the Bangladeshi authorities that more of such things should be allowed, because it's overall in the interest of everybody that this happens. We have some other projects moving in a similar direction, but largely, let me tell you, the policy orientation is where we need to invest before some commercial activity takes place. We do invest. There's no problem of money on that. But where we see that there is a potential of private sector being encouraged to move cargo, we do that catalyzing, and we do the licensing, so to say, with all the stakeholders to bring them together. One of the interesting projects, which is not in your area, but it's not too far from here, it's in the in Talcher to Dhamra and Paradeep, is a river called Brahmani River. South of that, there are two very active ports. One is Dhamra port and the other one is a Paradip port. So both of them join and go into one channel. And there is a Kalinganagar industrial area where a whole lot of power plants and industries are coming up. They're already there. Odisha, as you know, is also a mining hub. So there's a lot of mining, iron ore and coal that comes to Paradip. And there's a lot of coal that comes from imported from the overseas and goes into Paradip for various power plants. That area is also being developed, where I think fundamentally very marginal investment of the Indian Inland Waterways Authority would be required. Once having done that investment, the private sector is willing to build its own barges. So we are looking at the model of how to get going. NTPC was one model where the public sector was operating. Now this one is where the private sector has to be encouraged to give some kind of a firm demand projections on the basis of which we can build some barges and bring some financiers together. This is broadly a capsule version of what we are doing. We keep doing a lot of other things, including our own publicity in forums like this. And I hope I have been able to communicate the structure, content, and our approach towards the waterways as far as the Government of India is concerned. With a very active Bengal Chamber of Commerce, I'm indeed deeply honored, and I must thank the organizers for giving this platform to be able to communicate my points of view and to be able to, I'm sure, generate some more opportunities for cargo and inland waterways in the eastern grid of the country. Thank you so much.